Before he was the serpent, before he was ever called Satan, he was heaven's masterpiece. I mean, we're talking about the highest of all created beings, a creature of just unimaginable beauty and power. Today, we're going to trace that epic story of Lucifer, the morning star, and his absolutely catastrophic fall into darkness. So let's get into it. You know, this one line from the book of Isaiah, it just captures the entire tragedy, doesn't it? It's a question that really echoes through eternity. How could something so perfect, so close to God, fall so far? This is the story of that fall. To even begin to understand the fall, you have to start before it ever happened. According to various scriptural traditions, Lucifer was described as nothing less than the seal of perfection. See, he wasn't just another angel. He was God's first and most magnificent creation. In him, there was no flaw, no imperfection, at least not on the surface. Okay, so let's begin in that perfect heaven, way before sin even had a name, and really explore the position of its brightest star. Because this wasn't just any angel. This was a being who stood closer to the throne of God than anyone else. First, let's just talk about the name itself, Lucifer. It literally means light bringer. Think about that. It wasn't some evil name. It was a title of immense honor, something that described his role and his very nature. And that just makes his transformation into the Prince of Darkness all the more tragic. And his position, well, it was second only to God. The sources describe him as the anointed guardian cherub, literally covering and protecting the throne. He was heaven's worship leader, get this, with pipes and musical instruments built right into his very being. His body was covered in precious stones that reflected God's glory like a living fire. For all intents and purposes, he was the chief operating officer of heaven. But perfection, well, they can be fragile. It doesn't always shatter with a big war. Sometimes it just cracks with a single thought. So now let's dig into how this perfect being started to corrupt from the inside out. This is the origin story of the very first sin to ever exist, pride. And this brings us right to the central mystery, doesn't it? It's a paradox at the very heart of this story. How does something perfect break when there's nothing broken around it? What could possibly motivate a being who has literally everything, honor, beauty, power, to turn against the very source of that existence? It didn't start with some grand act of rebellion. No, it began quietly. Lucifer saw how the other angels admired him, how they whispered his name in awe. He'd look at his own reflection in heaven's crystal sea and see all that glory shining back at him. And in that moment, a new, dangerous thought starts to take root. Why should I serve when I could rule? Why not me? Now, this internal pride needed a catalyst, right? Something to make it explode into open rebellion. And that moment came during a grand assembly of all the angels. God unveiled a plan for a new creation, humanity, and with it, a test that would shake the very foundations of heaven. This was the heart of it, the ultimate test. God revealed that his son would one day take on human form as Jesus Christ. And then he commanded the angels to worship him in that form, a blend of the divine and the mortal. The creator of everything was asking them to bow before him in the humility of flesh and blood. And this right here, this was the breaking point. It wasn't just about bowing to humanity. It was the vision that God would allow this new creation to mess up and that he would then sacrifice himself for them. To Lucifer, the idea of worshiping a God who would be broken, bloodied, and killed by these flawed creatures of mud and spit, it was just absurd. It was a humiliation. In that single moment, his quiet pride just erupts into a full-blown plan for a hostile takeover. The book of Isaiah actually records his ambition in these 5 chilling declarations. He didn't want to serve God anymore. He wanted to be God. This wasn't asking for a promotion. This was a declaration of war. And with that, the unimaginable happened. The perfect peace of heaven was shattered. What had been a quiet, internal rebellion now exploded into open conflict, a war for the throne of the entire universe. But Lucifer didn't fight alone. He was charismatic, brilliant. He started to persuade others. He didn't just shout rebel. No, he whispered questions. If God is really love, why does he demand worship? You deserve more than this. He preyed on the pride of others, and his logic was so compelling that he convinced a full third of the angelic host to join his cause. This was his final open challenge. He marched before the throne, not to worship, but to demand. He was no longer the light bringer. He was the usurper, ready to plunge heaven into a battle of brother against brother. As Lucifer's seductive logic started to spread, another voice rose up to challenge him. It was the archangel Michael. And though he was of a lesser rank, he met Lucifer's complex arguments of pride with a simple, devastatingly powerful question: who is like God? It was a cry of humility, a declaration of loyalty that just shattered the rebellion's foundation. And then war erupted. Swords of light crashed against shields of shadow. Angels who had once sung together in perfect harmony now sought to destroy each other. But here's the thing: a rebellion against the Creator is doomed from the start. In the end, Lucifer and his followers were defeated, their light fading, their beauty twisting into pure rage. So, he was defeated, but not destroyed. Cast out of heaven, the fallen angel got a new name and a new battlefield. His war against God wasn't over. It had just changed locations. His whole identity was transformed. He was no longer Lucifer, the light bringer. He was given a new name that reflected his new purpose: Satan. This Hebrew word means the adversary or the accuser, and that pretty much defines his new mission: oppose God's will and accuse humanity. And so, he hits Earth like a bolt of lightning. If he couldn't conquer heaven, he would poison Earth. His new focus became sabotaging God's plan by attacking his most beloved new creation, the very same beings he refused to honor in the first place. His first target? Eden. On Earth, his tactics got a lot more subtle. He learned from that direct confrontation in heaven, right? So now, he operates in the shadows. He questions God's word, just like he did with Eve. He offers power and glory as shortcuts, like he did with Jesus in the desert. He accuses believers, and he masterfully disguises himself as an angel of light, because the most dangerous lies are the ones that look like the truth. But here's the critical takeaway in all of this. Even though his rebellion is still going on, his end has already been written. The very same scriptures that detail his fall also prophesy his final, irreversible defeat. The book of Revelation describes his end not as some dramatic, evenly matched war, but as a swift and final judgment. When Jesus returns, Satan's rebellion is ended with a single word. He is seized, not even by God himself, but by an angel, and cast into an eternal prison. His story ends not with a bang, but with the final, decisive victory of the God he tried to overthrow. And so, we're left with this. The entire cosmic conflict, from the highest of heavens to the future of humanity, really just boils down to these two opposing questions. One is the cry of pride, and it always leads to a fall. The other is the cry of worship, and it leads to glory. And that choice is the echo of the war in heaven that continues in every single human heart today.